We'll start with some shaking, shaking it out, shaking it in, and some rocking like a pendulum to awaken that central column. Yeah. Moving into micro movements, more and more subtle. So actually feeling into the pranic forces of the Ka body. And let's do some toroidal flows. So moving the energy up through the center channel, down the sides, and really connecting to that Ka flow. Moving your awareness to that level, so it's not just a physical thing. And the more you do that, the more you'll be able to connect to your Ba, the astral forces. So now reversing the direction. So whatever direction you were doing, go the opposite way. Feel how this brings physical adjustments in your alignment. Just letting it go gently on the breath. And now both directions at once. So one hand going up, the other hand going down. Yeah. Release any tension with some nice sounds. And then reversing that flow. Feel how this gives your Ka body a massage. And then ending with the Ka pose, the Egyptian Ka pose. This awakens the body of levity. And let's play with the angle of the Ka pose. So just very slowly, gradually changing the angle, turning the palms downwards. Experiencing how that affects your entire energy field. See how much power you have as you work with the geometry and the angle. So it's very much part of the asana practice in yoga. So we're doing the Ka pose in reverse, but still feeling that levity that it brings as we engage the Ka body. Now we're changing the angle again to bring this back up. What we're going to do next is release the physical gesture while maintaining it in the Ka body. So engaging the imagination, the visualization, and the kinesthetic of it. So lowering the arms, but keeping the ka arms still in the ka pose. And while you're holding that, I will recite the verse that we've been working with. The outer sphere of my aura condenses, surrounding me as an impenetrable shield and vessel, protecting me from all unwanted, unjust, and impure thoughts, feelings, and intentions, opening only to the wisdom of cosmic intelligence. And we can release that, just shake it out a little bit. You can do the clearing pose, clear the field, it's becoming a straight vertical line, releasing any stagnant energies into the elements of fire, air, water, and earth. And then releasing that. So we're now going to go through the planetary gestures we've been doing based on the eurythmy practices of Rudolf Steiner. This is a book by Thomas More, but planets within and how we all have all of the planets within us. So doing these gestures helps us to connect to the quality of those planets and to awaken them so we can interface with them more consciously. I got these books out on eurythmy. Some people were asking for more information on eurythmy. I'm a big fan of eurythmy. It's really etheric movement. There's a beautiful book compilation of all of Rudolf Steiner's teachings about eurythmy. He's the one who developed it.
Yeah, what's that image on the front? Is that the flower of life?
No, it's not the flower of life. It's actually he designed different mandalas for the different planets. So that is the one for Mercury. Here's another one written by a teacher I worked with, eurythmy teacher. And I love it. He calls it cosmo choreography. You know, the choreography of the cosmos, dance of the planets, so forth. So yeah, today we're going to be adding the seventh. We've been going through them a week at a time. And so we'll start with the one we learned last week, which was Jupiter. Today we'll be learning Saturn, but we'll go with Jupiter. We'll move through them backwards, and then we'll add the Saturn one at the end. So who remembers Jupiter? So we take the left hand, just a soft fist, somewhere in front of the solar plexus, and then orbiting the right hand around it gently. Now release that and continue doing it etherically. Feeling it, visualizing it. And moving on to the planetary gesture before that. Anyone remember what?
The sun.
Not quite yet.
Mars.
Mars, yes. Remember the Mars gesture? Do you want
Um,
to? Yes. A show of strength. Mars. And then after doing that, you can do it a few times etherically in your ka body, connecting to the ba, the astral forces of Mars. And then next we're moving on to the sun. Demonstrate that.
it's
Yes. On the right up, going clockwise, and the left arm down counterclockwise, really expressing the glory of the sun around which everything orbits. And then doing that etherically a few times. And then prior to the sun, we were working with Venus. This gesture of Venus with the right hand forward and open to give and receive, and the left hand similar to the sun, orbiting to the left and behind.
counter.
Yes, same. Venus. To try and connect through your ba to this astral quality. Planet Venus. The inner nature of Venus. Releasing that, continue etherically. And then prior to that, we were working with the planet Mercury. Similar to the sun, the right hand is up, the left hand is down, but the left hand stays stationary while the right hand orbits. Feeling how this affects your field. And then continuing for a few moments etherically. Yes, of the moon. Recall the moon, Mishka?
That's the moon?
Next is the moon.
No, the previous one? This one?
That was Mercury. Yes. The moon? Anyone recall? Yes. But it's a real building process. Like the phases of the moon builds gradually, and then the sense of stillness that the moon holds. Release that, and then we'll do it again. Building. Make the stillness. And then do that a couple of times etherically. Great. Now we're going to add a new one this week. The last one we'll be learning for the planet Saturn, the furthest most planet that we can actually visually see. So it's kind of like a skin. Its orbit, it's like a skin that holds all the inner planets. So Saturn, it's this kind of a sense of skin that comes up to the top of the head and down to the lower region. And then do that a few times etherically. And now taking a seat for some meditation, finding a nice meditation posture where you're not leaning on anything except your own core body. The eyes closed. You can use the meditation mudra if you want, with the one hand cupped in the palm of the other and the thumbs pressed slightly. And you can do some micro movements, just a little bit moving in each direction to awaken that ka body, the central channel, which will guide you into optimal posture. And nostril breathing on both the inhalation and exhalation to build up friction, nitrous oxide in the blood. electricity for the brain. So just focus on the warmth and friction of the nostril breathing. We've also been practicing with the teeth closed. So the teeth pressing together just lightly to create more electrical circuitry for the brain. And putting on an inner smile in your heart, allowing that to rise up for an outer smile on your face, just increasing the levity, awakening that ka body. And for the breathing practice, we'll pick up again with the Hang Sa. The Hang Sa is on the inhalation, awareness moving from the brow down to the root, inwardly hearing the sound Hong, and then on the exhalation, moving awareness from the root up to the brow, inwardly hearing the sound Sa, Hong Sa. So this is kind of counter to the way we normally breathe. Because awareness is moving downwards on the inhalation and upwards on the exhalation. Let's begin practicing the Hang Sa. I've said that the inhale sounds like Hong and the exhale sounds like Sa. With awareness of how this is working on that central channel from the crown chakra to the root, perineum. This is a wonderful practice for starting the day to awaken that central channel. It's kind of like combing your hair in the opposite direction to awaken those follicles. This works to awaken petals of the chakras. And now we'll move on to the opposite breathing practice, the transmutation breath. This is where on the inhalation, awareness goes from the root up to the brow. And we'll do a root lock and holding the breath. And then on the exhalation, awareness moves back down from the crown to the root. So let's have a nice exhalation together. Pursed lips. Sharp inhalation through the nose. Moving up the spine, do a root contraction. Holding the PC muscles, anal muscles, cervical muscles. Chin lock as well. And we'll sniff, releasing through pursed lips. Do a little bit of rocking of the pelvic area. Completely empty the lungs. Hold the breath out for some dead time. Now again, another sharp inhalation through the nose. Root lock, chin lock, inner smile, outer smile. Little sniff to unlatch. Exhale through pursed lips. A little bit of dead time. Another inhalation. Locks. Holding. Awareness in the brow. A little sniff and release. Awareness going back down the spine, the central channel, while releasing the locks, releasing the root bandha. A little bit of dead time. Let's do one more for a good measure. Inhale. Root lock, chin lock, inner outer smile, awareness in the brow. Sniff and release. Pursed lips, rocking the pelvic area to awaken those energies below, stagnant energies, and releasing the practice. Bless you. Return to nostril breathing and also awareness in the heart center. Now we're going to place our awareness above the head, spend a little bit of time, awareness above the head in the column above. Just finding a nodal point above the crown, could be a few inches or a foot or more. And rest your awareness there. Just relaxed breathing. Just feel that sense of awareness above the head, stillness, these higher chakras that have much higher frequencies than the bodily chakras. This is, again, is something you could do for 5 to 15 minutes, but we're just acquainting ourselves with these practices. So we're going to release that, come back down into the head, back down through the throat, back down into the heart, the center of centers. And now we'll move downwards from the heart to the solar plexus, down into the sacral, down to the root, and then from the root going out into the column below. So again, familiarize ourselves with that part of our chakra stalk. Feeling into that area below. And practicing wagging the dragon. Wagging the dragon is where you sense a movement in the column below, like a dragon's tail. Just gently moving back and forth and around to awaken the column below and the chakras below. Few more moments of wagging the dragon. Feeling how this supports the chakras above in the body, helps with their healing, their cleansing, their activation. And then starting to bring awareness back up. Of course, this could be done for 5 to 15 minutes, but we're just familiarizing ourselves with these techniques. Coming back up to the root. Up into the sacral sexual area. Into the belly and solar plexus. And landing back in the center of centers, the heart. And now we're going to engage with Egyptian power pose number 1. So the hands now open, palms facing up, with the forearms at parallel to the ground. Connecting to this power pose, amplify the magnetic and receptive qualities of the energy field, the Ka. Feeling the qualitative difference this makes to your field. Magnetic, receptive. And now rotating the arms into Egyptian power pose number 2 with the palms now outward and the forearms at a 45-degree angle to the body. Feeling the qualitative difference of this power pose. And then going back to power pose 1. The palms upward I'm feeling how that shifts the energy, really almost like a 180-degree difference. And if you don't feel that, you will feel that with repeated practice of this. It will very much tune up and sensitize your energy field in a healthy and safe way. And again, switching to Egyptian power pose number 2. We're now going to engage with what we learned last week, the power of praise and prayer. So while in this Egyptian power pose 2, we want to feel from our heart energy being sent out from the heart through the arms to the hands and conjuring a state of praise. This may be new to your inner life, but it's something that can be cultivated. State of praise for something that is greater than yourself, greater than your ego, I am. Whatever that may look like for you at this time, just a sense of praise from the heart, of the arms, of the hands, feeling it through your entire being, sense of gratitude, veneration, praise. I'm now switching back to power pose number 1, engaging with the power of prayer, where we allow ourselves to be given things to pray for, things that come to mind. We take them into our hands and hold them with our power, the power of prayer. Again, from the heart, out through the arms to the hands, this receptiveness of whatever spirit puts into our hands to pray for, to hold and lift. Knowing that we are engaging a greater part of our divine nature and bringing about a maturation of those forces. Again, this could be done for 5 to 15 minutes. We're just reviewing these things. So we'll now bring our hands over our heart area, crossing them to seal this in, bring this opening set to some closure, holding the goodness that has been generated through these practices, sealing it into our field, building ourselves with it. From this heart center, just taking a moment to feel the connection to our circle, those that are here, those that are not here, and also those that are here but not here. Acknowledging gratitude for the support we can offer and receive. It's part of a collective. It's part of a grid, pillars and light workers. And then bringing the palms together, you can start rubbing them to create some friction, some warmth. Your palms are nice and warm. You can cup them over your eyes, starting to prepare the senses to come back. And that warmth in your eyes, right down into your heart, right down into your belly. Feeling ready to come back. When you're ready, opening your eyes, snapping back. Taking a moment to look around the circle just to acknowledge others that are here working with you in love, in support, in mutual respect. Great. Well, here we are, our second last session. Got Devin back here. We've got Agnieszka back here. You were at the very beginning of this, yes. And then, of course, you were in the winter term. And we have Shadi here as a guest who I invited to come to the last session. But then I thought, why don't you come to the second last session too? She's a real keener. And we've been talking about Egypt. So, yeah. First off, any questions, comments about that opening set? Anything that we did that you'd like to question or comment? There was, with the eurythmy gestures we did, there was not any direct connection to the chakras per se, but they would definitely affect the chakras because the chakras exist on the etheric and astral levels of our being. And this sort of movement is working with the Ka and the Ba, the etheric and the astral. It looks like physical movement, and I've been to eurythmy performances. There's people that train for 4 or 6 years, depending on 6 years if they're going to do it therapeutically, because you can also become a therapeutic eurythmist. And so, I've worked with these sorts of people, and it looks physical, but it's really connecting to another level. This is why it's so beautiful, so powerful. And so we'll awaken the chakras. Yeah.
Just like to comment, so when I find, or like, you ask us to, like feel with the different, are they postures or are they emotions?
The eurythmy gestures.
Gestures.
Mm-hmm.
And I find they're very, like, much more tangible when I do them like just empirically.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when I do them physically, like I'm not. There's some kind of disconnect, or I'm not sensitive, or there's some kind of disconnection. But theoretically, I think I really am feeling.
That's a beautiful point, Mario, because yeah, so much of our physical lives and physical movement does actually disconnect us from higher levels of our being. And this is a bit of the battle we're in because there's so much that's pulling us out that gets us to exvolute, to go out. So, these practices are great to reclaim inner awareness. And so that's great to do them physically, but then let go of the physical. The physical is kind of like a scaffolding, and then just do it on the etheric level is very powerful. Uh, yeah, so I encourage you to continue with these. And I've got descriptions of them in the Google Doc, so you can go and, if you need to remind yourself or go there and print off the Google Doc, you'll have access to that for the rest of your life, as long as Google Docs are around. What I wanted to start off with tonight is a bit of an artistic exercise. So pass this around and take 3 different colored pipe cleaners. Don't bend them. Just keep them straight. 3 each. Actually, when you get it, just enjoy the straightness of the pipe cleaner. This isn't too straight because I've worked with it, but those ones should be almost, well, there's no such thing as perfect straightness. Perfect straightness is just an idea. You'll never find anything perfectly straight in this world. Yeah. Let's take one and enjoy this sense of straightness. You can turn it at different angles. You might even enjoy the different quality between it being horizontal and it being vertical. Remember, we played with this in the Vibration as Foundation program Sarah was in, and we would change the angle from vertical to horizontal. And some people were actually, one fellow felt it like it was almost making him nauseous
At
because
first I never felt it until we started working with it more and
yeah, you're really coming along with your growing sensitivity, but in a healthy way where you're not high, people talk about being hypersensitive. We don't want to be hypersensitive. We want to be healthily sensitive. That's why that opening verse we're doing, it talks about our aura condenses and surrounds us as a shield and vessel. Great. So you've got the one. Now you can take a second one. And you're going to find the middle point. Have them cross at the middle point. And then wrap one around the other. So it's holding like that. So, of course, now I have a cross, but this isn't meant to be anything religious. Geometry came before sacred geometry and religious symbols. So religions have, in a way, kind of co-opted different geometry for their purposes, but that's all right. We're just working with the archetype of the cross. And again, you can play with the angles. Sense of the different directions. And you can spin it. See how it can really be in an infinite number of directions and angles. But still, the planes are two-dimensional. We have a height and we have a width. So now we're going to take the third pipe cleaner and add a third dimension, which gives a depth. So putting the center of that at the center and wrapping it around. Have the third dimension of depth, height, width, and depth, which actually gives us a total of 8 different directions. Anybody want to name the 8 different directions? Say again, Shadi?
Is north, east, west, south, above and below?
Yeah, you could do it that way. You could do it that way. But that's only 6. I said 8.
Oh.
Center.
And
Void.
what's the opposite of the center? You said void?
Void or the outer.
Yeah. Yeah. Or we could say we've got, the left and the right, the above and the below, the front and the back, the center and the periphery. 8 different directions. And if we wanted to elevate that beyond just something of like the ka, we're talking about ka as the level of patterns. Ka is where patterns reside. But if we want to connect to the qualities, sometimes it's said, that there's the masculine and the feminine, right? As in yin and yang. So the left and the right, the masculine and the feminine. Some people say, one side of your body is masculine, the other side is feminine. One eye is masculine, the other is feminine. So there could be that. And then the front and the back could be thought of in terms of the future and the past. Future in the front, past behind. And then we have the above and the below. So in terms of a quality of our experience, we could think, above is the cosmos and below us is the earth. So the polarity of cosmos and earth. And then lastly, there is the center. So for our experience, we would say, okay, myself, my ego, my I am. And then what is the opposite of that? The other. There's self and other, center, and what is in the periphery around me. So, yeah, there's a lot in this very simple artistic representation. But we've actually, this whole term, been working with these actively. So, in terms of the left and the right, we've been doing walking practices. The left foot, the right foot, the left foot, the right foot. We've been learning to step, with lifting up our feet more strongly. We've been working with putting the sole of the foot down more strongly. And also working with the threefold walking, where we always the toe first or the toe last. So, yeah, the walking practice has been really a way to balance the left and the right within our being. How about in terms of the front and the back, the future and the past? How have we been working with that this term? Yes, the Rakshal. The Rakshal, for Shadi's benefit, is a practice we do at the end of the day where we review the day in reverse. Close the eyes and visualize the day backwards. So normally our mind is in the flow going forward. What's next? What's next? What's next? Anticipating. So we turn it around 180 degrees into like, what did I do before that? What did I do before that? What did I do before that? And so forth. So it's really strengthening this polarity of future and past doing the raksha. And then in terms of the above and the below, how might we have been exercising that?
Right up.
Toroidal? Nice. And also the breathing practices, right? So tonight we were doing the hung sa. So on the inhalation, awareness going down the column, hung. On the exhalation, awareness going up the column, sa. Hung, sa, hung, sa. And then the secondary practice we did was the transmutation breath. So on the inhalation, it was up, exhalation, down. So the opposite. So again, kind of agitating our subtle energies. We want to bring like healthy agitation through these sorts of practices that really awaken these different dimensions, the 8 different directions.
And connecting with the little points.
Oh, yes. Thank you. Yes. We're putting awareness above the head to the nodal points, and then also going down below, wagging the dragon to awaken that part of our subtle anatomy. And then how about practices that worked with the center and the periphery, the self and the other?
Dieting.
Yes, gold star. The dieting practices, the self and the other, the self listening to the other, mirroring the other, and then the other listening to ourself and mirroring the self. Yes, really creating a healthy dynamic for our ego activity between our self-centeredness and other-centeredness. Empathy, developing empathy. Prayer, yes, exactly, yes. Doing this, the praise and prayer, the power of praise and prayer. That when we do the praise, I'm going to come back to that in a minute. It's not finished with this practice. What we're going to do now, oh, nice, nice, great. Yes, at the end there where we take a moment to feel the circle of which we're a part of. Yes, these are very simple things, but when they're done and repeated, it really does strengthen our architecture, or I like to say our heart architecture, because it's the heart that's the center here. So what we're going to do now is with each of these arms, spiral it. So you'll do one side spiraling one way, but then you do the opposite arm spiraling the other way. We're losing our straightness and introducing curvedness. The way one goes clockwise, the other goes counterclockwise, maintaining this sense of polarity and duality. And then when you get them done, you still have the same 8 directions, left, right, front, back, above, below, center and periphery. But now with these spirals, if you want, you could even have one bent slightly one way and one bent slightly the other way. And we see how it's not just 8 directions, but we're really creating something of infinite directions. Everybody got their spirals there. Let me ask you, does a spiral out or does it spiral in? Expansion. Yeah.
Both, like breathing.
Thank you. Both, like breathing. That's a great way to characterize it, which elevates it even more to a sense of aliveness and not just geometry and math, but a sense that it's spiraling out and spiraling in, a sense of expansion, a sense of contraction, like breathing. So it actually becomes a vessel for something alive that's even higher to be connected to it. And that's exactly where we're going here in how this understanding this really increases our power. And that's what I want to be looking at today is moving higher up. These last 2 weeks is to be looking at these higher aspects of our being. We've been looking at the ket, the physical, the ka, the etheric, the ba, the astral, and the ku as our spirit essence self. And now the question you've been carrying over the past week is about power. How powerful do you feel? And even to ask on a scale of 1 to 10 at different times, how powerful do I feel? When you're walking down a street, do you feel powered, disempowered? When you're meditating, do you feel powered, disempowered? When you get up in the morning, do you feel powered, disempowered? What and why? So, and then to find out what helps to increase our power. So, one of the things we've been looking at is the power of praise and prayer. So, just to review a bit about praise, and we were working with the Egyptian power pose number 2, right, with the hands putting out. So, in a way, when we have our hands out, we were moving from our heart, out our arms, out our hands, and raying out, spiraling out from the heart center, the ib, right? The ib, the heart in Egyptian terms. And the Egyptians were big on praise. And I showed pictures last week on the TV screen of hieroglyphs of Egyptians in this power pose in a state of praise and worship to something higher, to the gods. So this is a way to increase our power, is to ray out, to spiral out with this Egyptian power pose 2 while conjuring a sense of praise. Praise is really moving things up from our soul into our spirit, into our heart, to really develop the ib, the heart forces within us by exercising this power of praise. Did anybody have any experiences of that over the last week? Doing that exercise? Yeah.
I did. Again, it was back in nature. So it was where I tend to like to do these poses and, the prayer pose like that. And then to just visualizing like light coming from my heart from the sun, like kind of from my heart and out to, to others, particularly those who are anxious, depressed, lonely. That's who I was praising, putting my prayers to.
Okay, well, let's be clear in it. Let's separate these two, because first of all, it was the power of praise
Oh, prayer.
Praise and prayer. So we're working with praise right now. There's two separate, right? And the praise is putting out. It's this raying out from the heart, giving praise to something higher than ourselves, something higher than our own ego center. To recognize, there's a larger center that is in a way beyond us. But as I said last week, when we do that, we're actually setting our focus on the thing which we will become by praising it. By praising it and its qualities, we're going to grow into those qualities. So this is not about prayer yet. This is about raying out from our heart, spiraling out from our heart center to the infinite, right? The infinite directions.
That's an important differentiation.
Yes. Yes. So, yes.
Just you said something about praise for something that we will become.
Yes, the qualities that we're praising. This is sort of the magical part about praise and worship. At least, now in the new mysteries, is that we will grow in to the higher thing we put our attention on, those qualities, of divineness, of light, of goodness, of righteousness, and so forth, by raying that out from our heart in that way, we're actually going to grow into those qualities ourselves. It's kind of the magical side of praise.
So I was working with it last week with those instructions, but I kept, and I've since worked with it, kept coming to the fact that not only are we supposed to be becoming great spirit, creator, source, universe, whatever you want to say, we are already. So you can take a look at ego and all the development we're doing here, but as above, so below, macrocosm, microcosm, each tiny cell is the same as, the universe. Like, so I kept coming to praising that which is an expression of God or whatever you want to say. We are.
Yes.
Rather than constantly striving to become, we are.
Well,
It's different levels of ways to look at it, but truly, like, we are.
well, the thing that the way I like to think of it is that we are in a seed form that needs to be matured.
Okay.
And this is what I'm coming to, is that we need to work at the maturation of these different levels of our being, because the Great Spirit respects our freedom of will. It doesn't go, you're like me. No,
Some
we're
would say
not.
that.
Pardon me?
Some would say that you are.
I know you hear that a lot, that I'm already perfect. There's nothing wrong with me. I don't have to change, but I don't believe that. I don't subscribe to that belief system.
I hate to say it, that would be something.
Yeah, because we are given the choice to grow or not, to grow up into goodness, or we have the choice to exercise evil, and people do that.
Yeah, I see the two levels. I see both because I see that I'm being human and three-dimensional at this point and holding baggage or having free will, but at the same time, I am.
Yeah, I kind of agree with
I
that.
am.
Sarah's
I
saying.
am, and I think we're focusing too much. And even when I was looking at the pictures of rays, the sun and all that, don't forget who we are. Like, we are also in a higher evolution of the way the past civilizations have been. We are continuing to evolve. So
Yes.
it has to be a lot more inner praise than external praise to the gods and to the sun and to all that is. Like, we are everything inside of all of us.
Yeah, it just creates this like endless chasing, like I'm trying to find something.
You're
God's up
okay to just
there.
be, yeah, like, there's still these levels of what we think we're supposed to be doing, and maybe what we are supposed to be doing, but we are also perfect as we are.
Maybe just add
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
To my understanding, like I wasn't in your class, but my experience is like when you're in nature, like when you're in mountain, and just feeling that essence of the power of the mountain, and praising it, just being so grateful, just recognizing it. It's almost you recognizing that within yourself. And it's just like that praise. I'm not sure it's exactly what the praise you're talking about, but my experience is like having that is kind of the ritual of you recognizing your connection with all of that we mentioned within yourself and coming that realization that it is. So it's the level you becoming in a way like aware of all of this, which is right. A lot of people are not aware of it. And if that's my understanding of it, maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, like the tree is
Um,
perfect as the tree is. The tree doesn't worry that it will grow up or get stressed out or whatever. The tree is being.
yeah, but it's just at the same time when you see it, like when you're in that power and beauty and essence of things and recognizing it, and at least for me, that's my understanding of it. That recognize, I thankful, grateful, just of that essence, and I see it within myself. It empowers me when I connect to it that way. Of it, but
Mhm.
yes.
It is about a connection to a state of being. So, either way you want to look at it, it's a practice to cultivate a state of praise and acknowledgement of the greatness of it all. And to orient ourselves to that through that state of praise that lifts us a bit beyond the mundane machinations of each day, like thinking about my banking, my shopping, the zit on my face and these sorts of things. So it's a state, it's a very pure state to go into where something's spiraling out from your heart because, and this is where I want to go with understanding the ib, that it's not talking about the physical heart, but the physical heart is part of our being on the level of the ket. And the ket, physical heart, what's happening? Blood is going out, blood is coming in, blood is going out. And that's not something we really have any control over. I mean, we can to a certain degree, but we go to sleep at night and it continues to flow for us, even though we're unconscious. So there's this physical level, but what we're really trying to master to bring about our own higher nature and our own maturation, because we're talking about here in biography work about a maturation process that we want to be more conscious of and to guide, as creator beings. So we're looking at one half of the coin is this flowing out from our ib, our metaphysical heart. So now the second part that AT was jumping in was the power of prayer. So instead of like putting out praise, we go into Egyptian power pose number 1, which is the magnetic receptive, where we're receiving. Things are spiraling in. Things are spiraling in from the metaphysical universe into our heart that we pray with. So, as I was saying last week, the practice is to just be with whatever comes to mind. People, places, events, just to hold them in a state of prayer and a sense that you're being given more and more spiritual responsibility. You're growing up spiritually, and the universe, the divine force is putting down on you more of the yoke of responsibility as a maturing spiritual being. And prayer is another very pure state, along with praise. The one is a spiraling out from the heart in this pure state, and the other one is a spiraling in this pure state. Praise and prayer. Yes. I'd like to hear some of your experience.
I love it to sit and just to feel what comes in, who comes in, what comes in, like, it's so amazing. And even today, I was holding light for everyone, or holding all heavy hearts, like almost like what we were talking about. Like, I didn't make this up in my head. This just came in,
Yes.
right? So that is to me one of the most powerful things we've done.
Yes. Yes. Great. Thank you for the feedback. So yeah, we're really now elevating these parts up to get more. We'll hear. I want to hear from Ignitia, but the thing is, it's increasing our power. It's increasing not our financial power,
feels
not our
important.
political power. It's the most important. It really is the most important, but it's so often overlooked in people's spiritual practice.
It's a pouring in a sense.
Yes, we're being given things to pray for. I mean, we can have our own ideas. It's like, okay, I want to pray for, the people in the building here. But things will, when you really open up, you'll be given things. And it can be very quick. It can be like faster than the speed of light. Things come through because we're working on levels beyond the physical. So it can be faster than the speed of light. It doesn't have to take long. It doesn't have to be like half an hour. This can be for 60 seconds.
And it goes through the heart. It's a sense like transmuting.
Yes.
It goes through our heart. Sense is that.
Yes. Yes. So it's raising the sekhem of the id, the power of your heart, and bringing about maturation. Yeah. And just a bit about, what are we praising? I like to say we don't have to have 100% understanding of what God is or what God looks like or what do we want to call God. We don't have to, we're not capable at this level, we're not capable to having a full realization and revelation of the higher power. But we can have 100% faith in it. Without 100% knowing, we can still have 100% faith that there's something that's all knowing, all powerful, that is all loving, that is worthy of 100% of our heart forces praising. And so I want to address the bit about the word faith because, that's also kind of, scientifically minded people go, oh, well, faith, that's kind of cute and quaint. That they're skeptical about faith. Science is skeptical about faith. And I go, yes, because that's science doing its job. Science is a methodology of skepticism. That is our scientific side when we're skeptical about stuff. Somebody comes up and says, here, drink this, it's going to make you feel better. It's like, wait a minute, I'm skeptical. I would like to douse it first, or, I would like to ask some questions about it. That's my scientific side that is skeptical. So when science is skeptical about faith, that's fine. That's just science being science. But faith is really of the shamanistic side of our being, which is ages old. Science is this, a new baby. Shamanistic side is ages old, and it operates on the power of faith. Faith is a power. It's not just a blind, belief system. But faith is a power that actually opens up the channel, right? If I'm going to praise and send energy spiraling out, it has to run on the current of faith. That it's a power that opens up the channel. And just another part about the skepticism of science, because it's so funny because science knows that faith works. They call it the placebo effect, but they treat it like a problem that interferes with their methodology. So they have to find ways to work around the placebo effect because it figures it messes up their data. But they won't face on acknowledge, oh yeah, faith is working. People believe that something's working. It works. Pardon me?
And so it does.
It does. But because science is doing its function as a skeptical methodology, it can't really embrace faith. It's like there's this wall between the shamanistic and the scientific sides.
Oh, I actually think those are converging in these days. Like we see spirituality being brought more into medicine. We see spirituality being brought in, and spiritual things like, why do we have Kundalini awakenings? Like people are proving what's happening in your cells and what chemicals your brain is releasing. So it's like a merging these days. Slowly.
It is
Something.
absolutely right. You're absolutely right, and it's wonderful that's what needs to happen, and that's what we're learning here. We're learning spiritual science. We're bringing geometry in, but we're also talking about prayer and praise, and how there's geometry to that, and how it's working with maturing your heart, increasing your spiritual power, and really bringing about a maturation of the coup, the central spiritual nature in the Egyptian cosmology is this coup, to raise the consciousness of the coup. And so I think I'm going to leave it there for tonight, and I'll continue this next week for our closing class as we move up these rungs here.
I have a question.
Yes.
I'm trying to just remember. I remember with the alchemy, there's manifestation, but from the top, and what's the
Liberation.
liberation?
Yes. Yeah. There's the path. Bringing things into manifestation, downward path. Coming into matter, and then out of our experience in matter, there can be a sense of liberation. And I might just add that to, our little conversation we're having here about, are we perfect? To me, it's a paradox, like yes and no. There's a perfection there, but there needs to be a maturation of the seed to its bloom, which is really a liberation. That when we come into an incarnation, we're not necessarily free. The default is not that you're free. The default is actually that you're not free. And people are very confused around this idea. They'll say, oh, I'm free. I can do what I want. But are they even free from themselves? And this power of desire, which I'll finish off with, because this is, the driving force that drives everything is the desire, which we know that word means what? Desideri? Of the stars. We have this desire of the stars. It's the astral force, really, that drives everything, this star power, but it can drive us down into the ground. Or if we choose, we can have it drive us back to a connection to the cosmos. And somebody sent me a video just a few days ago, and it was a live concert of Michael Jackson. He was on the stage by himself, and like thousands of people in the audience. And he was singing the song, "You Are Not Alone." It was actually quite moving. I mean, Michael Jackson, moving on different levels, because I think Michael Jackson in some ways was very alone, a very lonely person, unfortunately. And he wrote this song, "You Are Not Alone," and he's out there singing it, and the audience, the camera was like on the faces of so many young girls there that were just, they were weeping, they were fainting, they were falling down, they were just like gushing. And you couldn't help but be moved. I mean, because you could just see the desire to connect with the star. That it was,
Also not.
yeah. They right. I mean, they connected to their own sense of aloneness and separation, and but they were projecting onto him as the star these feelings. We do this. We project outwardly onto the world through psychological projection, and they actually the bodyguards actually selected one young girl, picked her up over the fence, took her up and put her on the stage, and they let her go, and she just like grabbed on the mic. I mean, it was pretty moving. Like she just wouldn't let him go. It was like she had found God. It was like blowing her away that she was on the stage, just her and Michael Jackson, and just hugging. She wouldn't let go, and she was just like holding him, just like this, and he just kept singing the song. It was pretty beautiful. And then finally, like the bodyguards came and like, and it was, she fell onto her knees and she was kissing his hands and like worshiping him. Just was like amazing to see these soul forces being expressed in such a powerful way. But I also realized how, in some ways, it was misaligned. And they came and they took her, and she didn't want to go. She was fighting. She was like losing connection to the most meaningful thing in that moment. I thought, wow, if we could really redirect those heart forces of the ib and a ku and a ba, the desire, the sidiri, our desire to praise really the all of all.
There's two levels about that though too. So yeah, they're projecting onto Michael Jackson, but stars like that, or even for some people, Lady Gaga or whatever, they're singing the same feelings that those young people feel, and they feel connected in that way, like to be heard or understood. So
Totally.
wow.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. You know, to a large degree, it's unconscious.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not putting it down. I mean, it was beautiful. It was just like, it was very human, very, very human. It was like, I was crying. It was just like, wow. I watched it a few times. It's just like, this like just shows star power. But we do need to make it conscious. And so this practice, and you're going to be able to take this home and as a reminder of, you know, spiraling out from your heart, from your ib, a sense of praise to the greater, to the I am of the cosmos, and to receive more and more responsibility to carry the cosmos through prayer, but then also action. You know, prayer may lead to action. That is what's going to bring about the growth and maturation of these multiple levels that make us up.
And then praise and prayer, bringing.
And also to direct it upward, you could say. Remember, there's remember the different angles. You know, like there's the horizontal. And yeah, we can project our love and praise. Like, you know, I would say, yeah, Michael Jackson was a superstar. He really worked hard at it and did amazing artistry. But then the vertical axis is like praising and recognizing where Michael Jackson gets his power from. The greatness behind the great one. So, and this is where science in its skepticism is eclipsing our connection. A lot of people don't have 100% faith because they go, well, how can that be? You know, how can there be a higher power? It's just a big bang and yada, yada, yada. But this other side, or shamanistic side, or spiritual side, can have 100% faith. And that's what opens up the channel to connect beyond kind of the prison of ourselves. You know, we need, what is liberation about? It is about liberating ourselves from the lower self, the seed nature, the potential, and to start making it kinetic, activated. So that we have to be able to go out from our center to the periphery and then bring in from the periphery, because that's what's happening with the heart. The heart is, quote, pumping. It's not really pumping. It's actually the power of the heart is coming from the periphery. And I have a whole chapter on this in my book. The heart actually blocks the flow, stops it, builds up the power that then goes into the heart and is spiraled back out. So the power is actually coming from the periphery, not from the center. It's impossible for the heart to pump that amount of blood that science says it can. And science knows it's wrong, but it has no other explanation. But it's because the flow of the blood is coming from a higher level than physical. This is getting, I'm not going to unpack this more, but I do in the book, because it's a kind of inversion of the idea we have of the heart.
It's a portal, right? It's a portal from the higher realm to the human.
Yeah. So to open to it so it can flow into us more. They're two sides of the same coin. So, they work together, and we don't want to get too fixed on what is what, because it's all part of one flow. Yeah. That's great. If you're being intuitive about these things, then we can really see things magically happen, and even without even thinking about it. As you said, it just is there in our heart architecture. But we do want to make sure the flow is balanced, especially for yourself working in the healing arts where you're giving energy, because a lot of healers, massage therapists, and so forth, they burn out after a few years of this because they're using their own energy rather than the universal energy. And you called it the overflow?
Yes, say from overflow, because you become a channel. Okay, so it doesn't come from you.
Yeah, there's a lot around that to do it hygienically and in a secure way, because there can be leakage very easily, hooking in people's energy and then leakage and so forth. So, one has to really be conscious and do practices to make sure their structure is not being undermined. Otherwise, they're going to find after, a few years of doing that their field is getting weakened. There's like holes in it. Physically, they're getting weakened. Their iron levels might drop and things like this. It can manifest on the physical.
See it in a lot of healers, like they have these problems with it.
Yeah, because the willingness, the zealousness is there to give, but there's protocols, important protocols around this. Yeah. Well, should we take our break? We're going to do some dieting tonight. So in this class, as you well know, we've been doing a lot of different things. There's been a lot of different moving parts, a lot of different things you've been learning. That's kind of the way I fly. I like to expose people to a wide variety of things. And one of the things we've been doing is biography work, looking at our personal life biography as something that is a maturation process, that as we evolve collectively as a humanity is needing more and more consciousness and more will brought into it. Matter of fact, Rudolf Steiner says that in older periods, that people, as they aged and matured, they became naturally wise, kind of because as their physical body matured, it brought about a maturation of these higher levels. So, in older cultures, they spoke of the elders, the wise elders, the gray hairs, the crones and whatnot, that as people aged, there was a natural maturation of the inner life that brought with it wisdom. But he has said through time, it's that force is decreasing. Used to be that, you would mature up to here, but then as time has gone on, you could mature to here, mature to here, mature to here, mature, just based on natural forces. Now he says, at best, if you don't put effort into your inner life, you'll come to the maturity of about a 25-year-old. And that's it. Unless you do active, some, don't you? Yes, we all know immature people in adult bodies. Because this is what's happening evolutionarily. That spirit is expecting more and more of us as we collectively evolve. That we can't live the ways we did in the past. We can't even rely on the practices necessarily of the past, you know, with all due respect to the ancient practices of India and China and so forth. They simply aren't enough for our modern constitution that has evolved, including this scientific side that needs to be honored. The left brain has to be integrated into our work. You know, this is why spiritual science is such an important new body of knowledge. So anyhow, we've been looking at these different phases, and the last week we were looking at this phase between the age 35 and 42, which is about the bringing of consciousness online. And you could even say conscience. This was more about sentience. Sentience meaning like having sentient experiences and responses in the world. Sentience. This was about intelligence, where we start to think about our lives, what we're going to do with our life, what the heck's going on, why did that happen, why is this happening to me, exercising our intelligence. Now, in this phase, it's really about conscience and consciousness. So we're going to dyad, each going to get, 5-7 minutes to talk about your relationship to consciousness. And I think everybody here, Sparko has just entered this phase, but you can still talk about your sense of what consciousness is. What does consciousness look like? How do I know if I'm conscious? And have you ever had an experience where all of a sudden you felt like you're more conscious? It might have been with the assistance of some psychoactive substance or something, but that aside, really what's at the core? What is at the core of consciousness and awakening and maturing consciousness? So yeah, you're just going to have some time to unpack that. And again, using this practice of focusing, talked about focusing a little bit, where the person who's talking really connects to the felt sense in their body. They learn to listen to what's there within the space of themselves. Can't really take time to talk more about focusing, but we will look at that later. So yeah, you're all going to get like 5 or 8 minutes each. Then I'll call switch, and then you'll reverse roles where the other one then does the listening and the mirroring, and then we'll come back into circle, and you can each bring a little distillation of something that you learned in the dyad.
And so it's age 42 to.
This is 35 to 42. Is this what's known as the consciousness soul age?
Did we do that last?
That was your homework for this week.
But last week, did we do 35 to 42?
In the dyad, we talked about, we talked from about 28 to 35.
Oh.
35 to 42, yeah. And yeah, what is becoming a conscious being about in preparation for the rest of your life? Going out into the world, blooming out into the world as a conscious being that has gone from seed and turned into fruit. And you have fruit, which can then cast further seed. So there's even number, including me. So I'm going to pair up with somebody. Maybe Shadi, you and I, we can do it together. Sienna, you're a visitor here tonight. So if you want. Great. Feels like could have gone on more to dig in deeper to your biography, and hopefully you will. You've got the charts that you can work with, and you've got each other. There's no reason why you can't reach out and do a dyad with each other over the next week or over the next year. We need to work with each other. We need to rely on each other because, it's often through the other that's outside of our center that we can get mirroring of who we really are. But let's do a little go around, give everybody a minute or so, a couple of minutes. We're down to our last quarter hour, so we'll have to keep it tight. But for example, with Shadi, just really seeing through her biography how consciousness is about exercising choices to make a conscious choice. But she gave me 3 different stories where she chose to actually go against something. One was parents, the other one was health, and then the third one was with your child. So yeah, consciousness is something to do with the choice that you make. And the other thing that came to mind was how often consciousness is awakened when we have to push against something. And this is very much like in the geometry, that growing up is a pushing down. We're constantly pushing down on the earth to lift ourselves up. And sometimes we have to push against things socially and even spiritually to mature ourselves and grow ourselves. There was, really 3 different adversarial type of situations you had that you could have just stayed asleep. You could have just gone along with the family plan in Iran. Right? You'd be a very different person in a different place if you had, I'm sure. So that really, brought about finding your coup, and it came from your ib, came from your heart center, like there was real strong passion. And so it's making you the powerful person that you are today, to have chosen to push against these things. So here's my sharing. Beautiful, beautiful. I want to segue on that, like this looking back piece is consciousness raising. Like that is a practice that gives leverage to our consciousness, which is why we're doing the biography work, filling in the chart. Oh, by the way, you didn't get a chart. I do have one for you, if you want. But also the ruksha, to look back over your day, is meant to be consciousness raising, to see how things connected, to see how things that seem apparently disconnected are actually connected and all part of a whole that's supporting you to become mature and to bloom into your fullness. So for home play, because I need to wind it down, and my apologies for going over, we got a late start and it's all just so delicious. But you might also take time to do a ruksha of this exercise, and not necessarily backwards. You could actually go to the beginning and go, okay, I started with 1 straight one, and then we put a second one to create a 2-dimensional cross, and then we added a third one. And what were some of the points that Jesse was making about the left and the right, the front and the back? See how much of that you can recall, because that'll be consciousness raising too. You're building consciousness. Consciousness is something that's built, believe it or not. We build something, and then something can land as well. We can get downloads and revelations and whatnot. But we do need to fashion ourselves to become conscious beings. So your home play, yeah, ruksha, biography work, review this. And the question to hold, because now for this next week, we're really looking at your future. Everybody to look at their future and ask, what do you want to manifest consciously in your future? And I'm just putting one stipulation. Don't bring in the money piece. Anything but money. It's too easy just thinking, okay, I want to manifest money, abundance. Think of anything but money about what you consciously want to manifest. And of course, the next thing will be relationships. But let's see if you can think beyond those 2 obvious things to less obvious things that you want to consciously manifest in your future. And that will actually help with this navigational center of the ib of the coup, to move from lost soul syndrome into something that's guided by the cosmic GPS, moving you towards your destiny and destination. And then, of course, also the universal praise and universal prayer practice with the Egyptian Power Pose 2, Egyptian Power Pose number 1. Practice those two things, and then from the heart, spiraling out, spiraling in, along with your blood flow on higher levels of flow. Saturn. Inner essence of Saturn. And you can move into breathing with the arms while Agnieszka reads the verse to us.
Contemplation incantation. The outer sphere of my aura condenses, surrounding me as an impenetrable shield and vessel, protecting me from all unwanted, unjust, and impure thoughts, feelings, and intentions, opening only to the wisdom of cosmic intelligence.